So thank you very much for being part of today's session. A little bit about me. You should be able to see my screen. My name is Yvonne Ruke Akpoveta. I am a change leadership advocate, a change strategist advisor. I am a change management consultant, so an independent change management consultant. I help organizations to lead and drive change. I help them to implement their change solutions, so their projects, technology, strategy, regulatory. I host change leadership events, change leadership and change management events, really part of my change leadership advocacy, because I believe in the power of being able to effectively lead change. I believe that when organizations and professionals like us are able to implement and lead change effectively, there's a greater good, not just for ourselves, but for the organization at large. We can see the results of the pandemic we have today. The pandemic is one big change that just came out, right side, left side, just came out, and the organizations and the countries that have been able to more effectively lead and drive this change have seen more success for their employees and for their community, as opposed to those who have struggled to manage this change. We can see that when change is not managed effectively, it can not only affect well-being, it can also affect our health. We see people dying. And some of these deaths, I believe, did not have to occur if change had been managed. So that's the value of being able to manage change individually in our careers, in our organizations. I advise professionals and leaders in terms of how to lead and drive change. And I have an change leadership course. It's called the Change Leadership Accelerator. It's an online course helping people, professionals, to develop their change leadership competencies. So today I'm very excited to be able to share with you today on how to navigate your career in the new normal. We keep on hearing that term, the new normal, the new normal. If I would like to know who is familiar with the new normal. So if I look to the side, just now I'm reading your comments. Who is familiar with the new normal? So Savitri has said, did I facilitate something 10,000 coffees? No, not me. So, and Mark is giving a comment there. If you're having difficulty reading the slides, you can click twice on the presentation to make the screen bigger. So if you want to see more of the slides, just double click on the slides and you should be able to see it much bigger. Thank you, Mark, for that. So tell me, who is familiar with the term new normal? We keep on hearing the term new normal. What does new normal mean for you? So I want to see that in the comment box. We've heard new normal. If you've not come across the term new normal, say so in the box. I haven't come across new normal. And if you have, what does it mean for you? I want to get your perspective. What does the new normal mean for you? I'm waiting to see some comments in there to see what the new normal means for you. To work from home, adapting tools to maintain human connections. Love that. What else do we have? A new way of navigating the world around us. Lack of networking. You know, that bit, if I forget, let's come back to networking. I want to talk a little bit about networking in the new normal. So if I do not get to touch on that, make sure you remind me, I'll win. About it. Navigating in a pandemic environment, new normal, more remote work and social distances. Fantastic. So really, when we look at this slide you see on my screen right now, this image and this picture, it shows what the new normal is like, and it's really full of uncertainty at the moment. The new normal, one characteristic you can say it's that it is uncertain. We do not know what is going to happen in the next month, in the next 2 months. People talk about the second wave of the pandemic of COVID. They talk about the third. So one of the characteristics of the new normal is that we're having to plan month to month. I almost want to say day to day, but that's our new reality, that it's no longer for organizations about long-term planning. Organizations right now are focused in part on their short-term needs because we don't really know what's going to happen in next year. They're talking about the second wave. We don't know what's going to happen in a few months. Some countries are already going into the second wave of the COVID. So the new normal is about uncertainty. The new normal is few things you said here. It's about remote working. It's social distancing. It's wearing masks. It's also global mobility. Global mobility, and that it has its advantage and disadvantage. So the new normal is that you didn't, because of remote working, you can be here in Canada and be able to get a job in the US. You can be here in Canada and be able to get a job in Europe because we're able now to work from home. So it has increased global mobility. There's more things happening online. Prior, you would have seen that a conference or an event such as this would have been hosted in person. Now we're seeing more and more things being online, and we see people attending. We have someone here attending from KSA. That was one lead attending from KSA. And so as much as the new normal has brought on some restrictions, it has really also opened the globe to be a global marketplace. It has opened more opportunities to be able to do things online. And one of the key things that the new normal has done when it comes to our work situation is that it has now accelerated the future of work. So if anybody's familiar with the future of work, put in there, it's one of those terms we've been hearing, the future of work, the future of work, the future of work. What does the future of work mean? How many people have heard the term future of work, are familiar with the future of work? Before I share what the future of work, I want to see, or how many people are tired of hearing about this future of work? Because that's a terminology we keep on coming across. We hear the future of work. Okay, never heard of the future of work. Okay, we have someone there. Who's heard of it? Who hasn't heard of it? Let's see. Yes, okay, I have one yes. I know we have a few people here, so we want some people. I haven't, a bit daunting. I have not. Okay, so we have a mixed bag here. So let me describe what the future of work looks like. The future of work is essentially about how we do our work. It's about what tools we work with. It's about where we work and the changing types of jobs, which are being driven by fourth industrial revolution technologies such as AI and robotics. So when we talk about how we do our work, we can see right now that we're doing our work remotely. It's about the tools that we're using to do our work. You know, in some situations, people are now using robots to do their work. We're now using things like bots, BOTS, to do our to work. We're having to interact more with AI and robotic technologies. The types of jobs we have now is also changing because of automation, such as the advanced technologies. You actually have jobs now that are about training robots and AI to learn how to do things. So those are the things that define what is the future of work going to be like. And what the pandemic has done is accelerated the future of work in such a way that, you see, we're now using bots more and more. Before the pandemic, as a change strategist, one of the concerns we had, or one of the challenges we were faced with was, well, how are we going to introduce AI and robotics into the workplace? How are we going to introduce some of these technologies? How do we get people to be more comfortable with some of these technologies that is being used? That was a challenge. But as soon as the pandemic hit, so many of these technologies were introduced into the workplace because there wasn't any time to see how will people respond to it, how will people do it. You had government organizations that introduced bots. You had things around AI technology that is being used now for tracing as a result of the pandemic, because they're saying we have to do contact tracing. That's something that before it would have taken about a year to 2 years to introduce that, just because of the privacy concerns around how that technology would work and AI. But however, when there was an emergency, those things were introduced. And so that's what we mean by the accelerated future of work. So future of work is saying that because of all of these technologies, automated technologies, it's how it's going to change how we work. Working remotely, we're already doing that. It's so funny. There was this situation where a friend of mine, he was he had to put together a business case, literally a business case, to say why he should be allowed to work from home remotely for 1 to 2 days a week. Why he should be allowed to work remotely. That was the pushback that some organizations had. They did not want people working from home. So he put together this business case on why he needed to work from home for 1 to 2 days a week. Taking into consideration, it takes him 2 hours at least to get to work and 2 hours back from his office. But they still wanted the business case. As soon as the pandemic hits, guess what? He's working 5 days from home. So that is an example of how the pandemic has accelerated the future of work in terms of how we work remotely and with new technologies and the way we do our work. I want to share with you some stats, and this is from Gartner for HR, and it talks about some of the future trends post-COVID-19, what's happening. It's saying, pre-pandemic, we had about 30% employees working from home. And then when this is done, right now we have larger than 30%. But when this is done post-pandemic, you're likely to see that almost 50% of people will be working from home. That's what it's going to look like. And we have to start to think, what does that mean for your global mobility? Do you have to think about, I only need to apply for jobs in Toronto? I only need to apply for jobs in Canada? Or can I even apply for jobs, outside of Canada? Another trend that we're going to see is the use of contingent staff, contractors, independent consultants. Employers see this raising to about 32%, replacing full-time with contingent workers as a cost-saving effort. And they're making more, and there's an increase by 12% in making use of contingent workers to fill labor shortages. Because that's one question I get asked a lot. Should I focus on full-time? Human nature, we just want to focus on full-time because we want that job security to say, my job is secure. But there is also opportunities too for people who want to be independent consultants and see their career in that direction. So yes, the future of work is changing. The trends are even being accelerated more with this. One more stat I want to share with you is the critical skills. So right now, traditionally, or in the past, our focus has always been around how can I be technically competent? How can I be technically competent in the legal field as a lawyer? How can I be technically competent in the accounting field? How can I be technically competent as a doctor? But what's changing? AI with AI and robotics and even 3D, that's changing the medical field, where it took like 5 days to 10 days for the x-rays for a cancer patient to be read by a clinician or an x-ray specialist. Now with technology, you can read those films and x-ray images within hours. So what does that do for the x-ray specialist who that was their job? It means that they now need to be more focused on critical skills that are non-technical. So what the future of work is doing by way of trends is changing the composition of what type of skills that you need to have. Organizations are now looking at what are the key components of this that we need to survive in our organization. Is it innovation? Is it creativity? Is it somebody that can respond to change fast and quick? What are the key technical things? If I can get AI to be able to read an Excel sheet within seconds, do I need to employ somebody as a data entry person who is going to compute and check this and compare data to make sure it's all right? Or do I need someone with non-technical soft skills that technology cannot do? Now you have databases where you put in a search word and you can find out how to effectively manage your legal case. So for small items, you find that you're no longer going to need lawyers. You can do those things yourself, but you may only need it for things that are complex. And that's where critical thinking comes into play. So the dynamics is changing. What are some of the things that you can start to do to get better? So I have a chart here. I'm not going to go through it, but it just goes to show you that what are some of the things, the compositions of things that are becoming more important for the future of work. Analytical thinking and innovation, creativity, critical thinking, technology design and programming, complex solving skills, leadership and social influence, emotional intelligence. These are some of the things that are becoming more critical. So the question I have for you today, and what I want to talk about, is share with you 3 key things that you can do to help position yourself in today's new normal, in today's future of work. Though we call it future of work, the future of work is now. It is not something distant, it is something now. And how do you position yourself? The first thing you need to think about is, how do you stand out with your personal brand? You know, I popped into a few sessions today. We had people talking about authenticity, and authenticity is one of the major ways that you can stand out in your personal brand. How do you differentiate yourself from other people? How it could be even on LinkedIn. Another session I popped into was talking about LinkedIn, writing personal articles or thought leadership articles. That's another way you can differentiate yourself, because when everyone or every skill is a dime a dozen, the way you stand out is through your personal branding. One of the things that has been a big influence in my career has been change leadership and change management. Before I knew what change leadership was, or change leadership competencies were, I was practicing those things already. And those were the things that were able to elevate me in my career and get promoted, double promotion sometimes, and stand out. And then I actually ended up becoming a change leadership consultant, a change management consultant, because I naturally just leaned into those types of competencies. But how are you standing out? An example is where I stood out in a job where I was a consultant. Without knowing it, without even realizing it, I just said, let me pursue one of my passions, which is writing. So I would write blogs or articles then, and it would be published in the national newspaper. And when it's published in the national newspaper, I would say Yvonne, Akpoveta, and it would list the name of the organization that I was working for. And then listing the name of the organization, what did that do? That wasn't just building my personal brand. It was also leveraging or giving leverage to that organization that I was working for. So what did they see me as? They saw me as an asset, because I'm not just doing my job, I'm standing out as a brand. And that was that's one way you can differentiate yourself, through writing thought leadership articles and publishing it even on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be the national paper now. LinkedIn and social media is more readily available. Another way is about being proactive, responsive, and adaptable to change. So it's not about waiting for saying, oh, until I no longer have a job before I start to make myself relevant. You need to look around you. What is happening with the future of work? How is my field changing? What are these key skills that are needed in accounting? If you look at CPA, here in Canada, the Association for Professional Accountants, you find that they're very big on AI, because they see that as changing their field. So you're not going to wait and say, oh, I spent 4 years or 5 years or 6 years studying accounting and it's the best thing since sliced bread. You have to see, how are the changes now impacting your field, and how do you need to respond so that you are more in demand for it. Even when it comes to your resumes or looking for a job, or how you position yourself on LinkedIn, are you proactive about how you position yourself? Are you seeing what the market is looking for and adapting your resume so that you are more attractive? Are you understanding how they do the job search functions these days? Now, I speak to some people and they're trying to get a job, and I say, are you looking on LinkedIn? Is your profile up to date? And they say, no, it's not. And I'm like, Like, really? In this day and age? You have to be more proactive about going out to get what you want. You have to be more adaptable to the market. You have to be prepared to learn new skills and adopt new skills to remain and stay relevant. And the third thing is you need to focus on non-technical skills. So it's no longer about, whether accountant. I keep on saying accounting, and I have, if anybody's an accountant, I have, nothing against accountants, but whether accounting, legal, engineering, any of those skills, they're great, and they will continue to be relevant in the way we do things. But those skills alone are no longer enough. So in the chart I showed earlier, I showed some of the key skills that were becoming more relevant, things like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence, leadership skills. Those skills are becoming more and more critical. Those are the kind of skills for why they hire people. The way you interact at your interview, the way you're able to demonstrate how you can problem solve, the way you're able to demonstrate how you can collaborate with others. And some of all these skills are things that I have mentioned are what are competencies which it takes to be a change leader. When I do my online course, I talk about 10 competencies around change leadership, which includes emotional intelligence, empathy, collaboration, decision-making, decisiveness, leadership. That we go into detail. And these are critical competencies that are very useful and advantageous in being a change leader. So being a change leader is no longer something that was in the past would have been reserved for the executive or the leader at the top. It's now something that is becoming more critical at any level which you are, because what do? They say, hey, Paul, here, take this task, lead it, and make it happen. So you have to start to bring in your influence. How do I get people on board to buy into this new task I have to do? How do I get people to collaborate with me? How do I influence people? Those skills are becoming more and more important, because guess what? Organizations are having to respond quick and fast to change. Before, where it was take 1 year to implement a project, now they're taking 3 months to implement a project. So there's no longer that hierarchy where you have to get permission from this person and get permission. They hand you a task and you have to be able to deliver immediately. So are you a change leader? Are you a change leader in your career? Are you a change leader in your space, in your whatever it is that you're doing? And are you a change leader in your organizations? Those are some of the questions I need you to start to ask yourself. I know we're at time now, so if you have any questions, just drop your questions in there. But I want to share some resources. Time doesn't allow me, but if you're thinking, if you're in a role right now and you're thinking, how do I progress? How do I manage resistance to change? Or you're thinking, how can I be a change leader without any title or lead in times of disruptive and uncertain times? I have these free resources and guides that you can download. It's oliveblue.com/resources. You can grab those resources from there. So feel free to check on them. So copy that there. And then also too, if you want to connect with me, in the interest of time, if you have any questions, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions that you're thinking through, how do I lead change, tips and strategies? I have a Facebook group, totally free. You can join that group. It's just type in Change Leadership Community groups, and you should be able to find the group. So join me on that group. Ask any questions. Just set up the group as a way for me to really engage with you on a day-to-day basis, help answer any questions you may have around leading change in your own personal space, or challenges you may be experiencing at work, or just generally around change leadership and change management. So if you have any questions, you can always pop that there. And if you have any questions, I'm looking in the chat box here. We have literally maybe 0 minutes, but you can always put in your questions there. I will be more than happy to answer those questions, and I can continue the conversation. Thank you, Tavia, appreciate it. I'm always happy to share and talk about change. I could talk about this for like 6 hours in a day and I wouldn't get tired. So thank you. Thanks, Kerry. Appreciate you. Thank you, Paula. I'm thinking, is that Paula Brown from LinkedIn? Are we connected there? I know I have a Paula Brown that I'm connected with on LinkedIn there. Oh, hey, Paula. Thanks for joining today's session. It is you. Hi, Kechi. Thank you. Appreciate you. And hi, Edwina. I think I know Edwina as well. I know Edwina. That's familiar. Edwina. Hi, Abdullah. Hi. Thanks, Nina. Thank you. Yes, I will check you out I will say hello to you, Nihar, on the Facebook group. Thanks for joining. Hi, Justina. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Great to see everybody here. Oh, I've interacted with Edwina on the ACMP session. So I do deliver some sessions for the ACMP Association of Change Management Professionals. So great to see you, Edwina. So thank you, everybody. I'm short of time. I know this session is coming to an end, but please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Yes, Paula, loads to think about. Change leadership is just a competency for the future of work. And the more we can get to engage with the non-technical skills in our space and be seen as innovative, be seen as a change leader in our space, and be seen as that person who is wanting and eager and ready to take things on board. Those are some of the things that were very helpful in my career to really accelerate my growth and project me, my visibility, and increase awareness around me to be able to really excel in my career in everything that I was doing. At that time, it was unconscious, but over time I had to go back and look what really made a difference in my career. And I started to see that it was being able to demonstrate so many change leadership competencies. And that's why I'm so passionate about change leadership as a competency. So, I encourage everybody to look at it and see how you can stand out as a change leader in your field. And that's how you begin to get noticed as a change leader in your field. So thank you, everybody. I hope to continue the conversation with you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Debbie, for joining. I see a few of you. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have yourselves a great day and end of session. Bye, everybody.